Welcome back to the channel. I'm Tommy, the Angry Craftsman. Today we're going to talk about pricing. Now, I own my own business. I'm retired military that's also disabled. Um, so when I retired, really couldn't find a job, so we started our business. This has been about 6 years ago now. Uh, we have one main business with two sub businesses. And we do a lot of different things and a wide variety of projects, from custom furniture work to laser engraving, CNC 3D printing. We specialize in high-end gaming accessories, in addition to a lot of the other things. So as I talk to you about pricing, I have to look at pricing from a variety of angles, and the products that we're producing, the equipment that we use. So you'll hear me talk about a lot of different things, not just specifically lasers. So let's dig right into pricing. How do we price? Well, I'm not the one to tell you the answer to that, because you price how you think you should price. What I look at is a variety of different things, from when we started out to what we do now. A lot of people starting out will say, take your cost of goods and do a percentage. Okay, that's one way. Take your cost of goods and multiply it by 2 or 3 or 4. A lot of woodworkers would say you take your material cost and then, or whatever it costs, and then times it by 3. And that's what you get. We work with other small businesses, other larger businesses. One of the businesses takes whatever their cost is and does 40%. Or adds 40% to it. And that's what they sell their product at. Another one does 1.5 to 2 times the amount that they purchased a product for. And that's what their retail costs are. So figuring out what works for you could be challenging. We've done it just about every different way. And then the last way is literally nickel and diming everything to death. And that's kind of what we'll wind up in. We'll talk about the variety of different ways to price. So what goes into pricing? Well, your material cost. Are you buying stuff from wholesalers like cutting boards or tumblers or glasses? Whatever your material cost. A lot of our lumber we get from local sawmills. It's all kiln dried, but it's rough. So now I have to mill that and make it usable for a lot of our products. Labor. Labor's another thing. What do you want to make per hour? If you only want to make $5 an hour, then so be it. If you want to make $15 an hour, or $60 an hour, or $100 an hour, it's whatever. You have to figure out what your time is worth. I know for me, my time is worth about $60 an hour or more. The same way with my son and my wife, who are all part of the business. When we look at labor, then we're looking at, $30, $50, $60 an hour, depending on what they're doing. It may seem like a little high, but when you break $60 an hour down, that's $1 a minute. Some people look at that going, well, that's not a lot, until you get into higher stuff. Your machines. What is your machine time worth? We have 2 lasers, CNC, and 4 3D printers. Those are the machines that kind of, I don't want to say run themselves, but they're plug and play machines. Pretty much you do the designs and then they're doing it. If you have a CO2 laser is going to be a lot faster than, let's say, a diode laser. So can you really charge the same for the same price per hour of a diode laser as you can a CO2 laser, or that you can a fiber laser? Speed's different. You have to take into account what machine you're using. My CNC, when it does 3D carvings, is very slow. I speed it up as fast as I can, but you're still talking about 2 and 3 hours on the machine. Well, if I say my CNC is $1 a minute, you do the math on what 3 hours is. Will the market hold for that product? Maybe, maybe not, depending on where you are. Also, into pricing, you have to take into your supplies. What is the sandpaper you're using or the finish you're using? Do you need nitrile gloves to go with your finishing? Do you need sanders, or can you just like glue it to a piece of wood to use as a sander? So your supplies, you have to take into account supplies. Now, I'm not going to get started talking about the specialty tools that go into like chisels and, you know, a sander that's 500 versus a sander that's 100. Your tool choices are your tool choices. That's maybe for another video. What about your overhead? You know, do you have overhead? Do you have rent? Do you have a mortgage? Do you have utility costs? All those things have to be taken into account. Shipping. Are you calling it free shipping and just adding to it, or are you including shipping in your as an additional fee? Shipping is not just what the post office or UPS or whomever is charging you. Shipping also takes into account your packaging. You know, are you using bubble wrap? Are you using like confetti paper to make it pretty? Or do you have custom boxes? Are you just recycling Amazon boxes? All of these things have to be taken into account. Your cost of your printer and, you know, ink or the rolls of paper that go with it. All these things have to be taken into account. Do you have shop fees? I know for me, if you need to use my tools, it's $30 an hour. Now, that $30 an hour has nothing to do with me. That is literally somebody coming in to run something through a planer. If I have to put my hands on it, then we add the $30 an hour plus $60 an hour. If they're doing it, then the 30 an hour is covering my wear and tear, covering my my blades, my bits, whatever it may be. Not to mention the wear and tear on your equipment. You know, do you have specialty equipment like the lasers? You have to take into account your laser tube. How, you know, when is it going to die and when are you going to have to replace it? I think one of my laser tubes is about 1,200 or more. So when we price our machine, we are taking into account the wear and tear on specifically the tube. On a CNC, I may be taking into account the wear and tear of the bit. How long is the bit going to last? How many carves can I get out of it, or how many cuts? And when you start looking deeper into that, realizing, well, you know, I have 27 plaques to do and I have to use 2 bits. Well, if my bits are $65 a piece, then that needs to be incorporated into your pricing formulas. Is there a hard, dead set way to price? I'm not the one to answer that. I can tell you that when it comes to pricing, you also have to look at to what the market can hold in your area. And in my area is definitely different than the East Coast or the West Coast. If you're in San Francisco, you can probably price for one price. That same item may price completely different on the East Coast or where I'm at. And I use that for an example, bourbon barrel products. I am in the heart of Kentucky. Everything and anything is all about bourbon and the use of bourbon barrels. Well, 400 people in this area build crap out of bourbon barrel parts. So my market is saturated. Therefore, if I really want to sell my stuff, I've got to watch how I price it. If I take that same product and I go to, say, Richmond, Virginia, I could probably get a higher price for it because the bourbon industry is not there. So it's a novelty. Just like wine on the West Coast or in Italy or wherever. So you have to take into account what you're doing. Now, if you're like 90% of the other people and you're just following trends, buying files off of Etsy, and selling, you know, reselling it, something together on Etsy, then you're competing with everybody across the country and you need to price accordingly. And don't forget to add in your fees that they charge. Whatever ungodly amount of rates that they're charging, don't forget to add them into price sets. So what we'll do is we're going to start breaking down how and some of the stuff that we make and how we price it. Okay, so let's take this box for example. This box is solid cherry. It's 2 halves with foam on the inside. So I have 2 pieces of foam in one and 3 in the other. There's 4 sets of magnets. There are screws that go into the magnets. And then we offer engraving on these boxes for this specific client. So we're going to take this into account. Now, let's break everything down. The material solid cherry. This started as a rough lumber board that I buy from a local sawmill that's kiln dried. So we'll just use, the cherry costs me $4. It's $2 a board foot, and it takes 2 board feet to make it. Now, granted, when you're figuring that, there's waste and all that other stuff that goes into it. So we're at a cost of $4 just for the wood itself. Then I have to mill it. So I have to run it through my joiners, my planers, or whatever tools, the table saw, to get it to the specific size that it needs to be cut and put on the CNC. Well, that takes about 15 minutes, and then we've already said I charge $60 an hour. So that's $1 a minute at $15. My CNC. Once the CNC starts, it takes 90 minutes to cut this box. 45 minutes per side. Because of the bit and the tool paths and everything else that goes into it, it's a little bit longer than I would like, but there's no way around it right at this very moment. So let's just say I charge 30 cents a minute for my CNC. That is $45 alone for the CNC time. So now we've got what? $4 for material, $15 for the labor to prep the wood, $45 for the machine. For my employee that has to stand over there at the CNC machine, it takes about 5 minutes to switch boards out, align everything up, set the zero, and start the milling process. So that's $5. Now, the magnets. The magnets in these are $1.33 a set. Once you take into account the magnets and the screws, it comes out to about $6 a box. Once it's off the CNC, the labor that goes into installing the magnets, sanding, routing, the hand sanding that goes into everything, we have a labor cost of about $15. And then all my supplies, from the lacquer, the sandpaper, things of that nature, add up to about $5. So just for me, for the first part of this box, before I even get it to the laser, I'm well over $90. Now, the laser cuts the foam. So if you take how long it takes on the laser, and then plus the foam, we're looking at about $1, give or take. It's relatively quick to cut this foam. So we'll add what? $1 for it. Right now, I'm at $96 for this box. Nobody in their right mind is going to pay $96 for this box. And I haven't even discussed a profit yet. This is just the cost of making this. So is it worth it? I don't know. Leave me a comment if you think it's worth it or not. I'm about to tell you whether or not I think it's worth it. So these boxes are made specifically for another small business that makes custom belt buckles. When they have an order of a $550 or more belt buckle, they order one of these boxes. We also do custom engraving on the top and their logo on the back. We don't add that in there. We also, because they're really simple, we don't have to worry about a setup fee because they send us everything that we need. All we have to do is line it up and hit go. But that would be an additional fee. These boxes I sell for $30. So if I've got a cost of $96 to make them, but I sell them for $30, how am I making any money? Well, I help reduce my costs by batching them out. And that's one thing that you potentially need to think about when you're making things in bulk or one-offs is, can I do them in a bulk style? So this company orders 10 at a time for $30 a piece. When you do the math on how long it takes me to do one versus 10, I'm only increasing my labor costs by very little, but I can get so much more done because of the processes that I follow. So now, when I batch them out, they actually only cost about $63. Still way too much. They're only paying $30. I eat the rest of the cost or reduce my CNC cost to get to their price point, and I'm willing to do that. You may or may not be willing to do that, but for this client I am, because we make a lot of products for them. We make up some of the differences with the other products that we make for them because of the short amount of time that it may take for them. So we add some additional costs there to help compensate for this specific item. So in reality, it's a win-win for everybody. They get what they want, and we're really not losing that much because we offset cost in other different ways. Like, I don't have to deliver these. I don't have to ship these. They come and pick them up. So now that's one cost I don't have to figure in. Is it worth it? I don't know. I've known the owners of this company for a few years now. They're fantastic friends. So to me, it's worth it. Plus, if we engrave the inside of the box with our logo so that the end client knows the buckle came from here, the box came from here, there's the potential to get other clients. So in reality, I don't know if it's if the juice is worth the squeeze, but for us, we make it work. So I picked this one specifically because there is such a drastic difference in what we charge versus an actual cost. These decisions are for you to make on your own products. Now, some of y'all just buy crap from wholesalers and do some engraving and then resell it. So we'll start with one of them. We get these rocks glasses, I think, from JDS. They cost us about $1.12 a piece for our cost. Looking at the notes that I have, it takes about 3 minutes to engrave something on them. So that's $1 a minute for the laser time, which I'm taking into account tube replacement and things of that nature in that $1 a minute. It's about $2 labor to clean them up and switch them out, things of that nature. So we're talking about $6.12. $6.12 just to buy it, engrave it, and get it ready to sell. Now, when we look back at what we initially talked about, how do I price this? We work with other small businesses and they add 40%. So let's do that math. $6.12 plus the 40% comes out to $8.56 for this glass. Not a bad price per glass. Round here, our going rate for these is about $10 a piece. That's about what the market can hold. Now, if I take that $6.12 and I multiply it by 2, it's $12.24. If I do it by 3, it's $18.36. Nobody in their right mind is going to pay almost $19 for a one rocks glass that's engraved. If you've got that type of client, then good on you. We don't here, so I can't really get away with charging that. But now, who buys one glass? Do you sell them as a set of 2, set of 3, or set of 4? Well, let's throw in the numbers on 4. 4, if I sell them for $10 a piece, that's a total of $40. Might be a little high for 4 glasses when you look at, that setting. So when you drop it to $35 for the set of 4 glasses, they come out to about $8.75 a piece, which really, when you do the 40% plus your cost of goods, is $8.56. So a little bit more. Something that I think that the client's willing to pay is the $35 for a set of 4. And we're still making a little bit of money. A set of 2, we may keep them at the $10 a piece. or we may get them at $9 a piece. That's on you and how you want to market your stuff. In the grand scheme of things, we do 2 of these that are engraved. I build a shadow box for the 2 glasses plus a bottle of bourbon. We also have the ability to engrave the bottle of bourbon. I have done so many shadow boxes for these that I can get it down to about 2 hours on making the shadow box. So when it's all said and done, we're looking at $150 to $175 for the whole set, which is well worth the time, in my opinion. So now we've talked about one product that is strictly handmade or made by us from raw materials, and another product that is purchased and engraving and resold. The last one that we do, so that you also understand how processes work and how processes can help reduce your costs, which should increase your profits. We do a 23 by, I think it's like 10 and a half Kentucky shaped plaque. It takes about 2 board feet to do this. So we're talking about a cost of $4. The labor, it takes me about 5 minutes to mill the rough lumber, then hand it over to my wife, who throws it in the laser, and it takes 11 minutes to cut. Well, we've designed the cut file so that we get a second product out of the cut. We do these little mini boards here. This helps use up some scrap or some of the pieces that would have just wound up in the burn pile, and then we're able to turn around and resell them. So what are we at? $4 for the material, $5 for labor, $11 for the laser time, and then we do another 10 for the labor after the laser. So that's final planing to thickness, that's sanding, keyholes in the back of it to hang it, and a clear coat. That comes out to about 10. The supplies needed to do all that adds up to about 2. So we're at $32. I wholesale that Kentucky for $30. It's simple. This company orders hundreds throughout the year, and I typically do them at 10, 15, maybe 20 at a time. Therefore, by batching, I am able to reduce my labor costs because of my processes. Therefore, I'm not losing $2 a piece when you actually look at the math. And if you stop and think about it, if, just that 5 minutes on whether it's putting it in a machine, the CNC or the laser, 5 or 15 minutes winds up over time turning into hours. Or the 5 minute that it takes to put something on a CNC machine and take something off. After you do so many of them, you're looking at an hour of labor time that you may have or may not have added into your price. So as minuscule as it sounds, make sure you're adding in your labor for the time it takes you to pull a cup out of a rotary, or a board on and off the CNC, or a board on out of the laser. The same thing goes with 3D printing. If you have 3D printers, you're aware that it's one thing to set it and forget it. You walk away, and 12 hours later, you come back for something simple because they are slow. Well, I can't really charge $1 a minute for something that takes 8 hours to do. That gets a little ridiculous when you think about it. So, but don't forget the post-processing. After it comes off of the build plate, you may have to clean up strings. You may have to do some light sanding or some tweaks. Scrape your glue off or peel your blue tape off or whatever it may be. So also include that post-processing work for stuff like 3D printing as well. But, glasses and cups and things, we may forget that it takes a couple of minutes to clean them off. So please don't forget that. Now we go back to the Kentuckys where we get this product out after the Kentucky's done. I do the same thing with these. I batch them out. So if we did 10 Kentuckys, then I've got 10 of these to deal with, or 20 or whatever it is. So I do them all at one time. They're on the sander, they're routed over, they're resanded, and then they're brought back into the laser side of the shop and they're engraved. Depending on, what we're engraving, this one is a recipe for a special mom. We do drink recipes. It could be a little bit of anything, but in reality, these are set to there's only really a few minutes of runtime on them. And then they're final sanded and finished. And we sell those for $15 a piece. Around here, that's what the market can handle. In your area, you may think, well, that's a $30 product. Okay, good on you. Here, it's not. So we keep them at a lower cost. They seem to sell rather quickly. And it's something extra that we got out of another project because we're stopping and thinking about the processes that we're doing and how this works and how we can manage our time. So by managing your time, you're also helping increase your profits. Anywhere in here, I may have talked about profits. I may not have talked about profits. Your profit margin is what you want it to be, what you can handle. The one thing that I know for a fact that frustrates me is when we go to a craft show and out of the 100 vendors, there's 5 of us doing cutting boards. Now we all know everybody makes a damn cutting board. If you have a table saw or some sort of saw, you can make a cutting board. Not all cutting boards are created equal. So you have to take that into account. Ours are more expensive. And ours are more expensive because ours look higher end. And they are higher end with the different woods that we use. Just because you're sitting at home or you have a small shop and, you have the time to make something doesn't mean you need to charge a ridiculously low price for it because you don't value your time. You need to value the time that you put into it. You also need to value your knowledge, skills, and ability on the craft that you're doing. I don't do the 3D printing. My son handles all of that. I put my 2 cents worth in, but in reality, it's not me doing the printing. So I don't have that knowledge, skills, and ability. I know what the end product should look like or what I want it to look like. He does everything else in between. So take all that into account when you're figuring what your time is worth to you, because you're the only one that knows that. Again, if you feel that you're worth $5 an hour, then pay yourself $5 an hour. I know that I'm worth $60 or more an hour, so I pay myself, but I'm also, a little bit on the pompous side at times. However, my work speaks for itself. We run into it again at these vendor shows or craft fairs. We've all done it. We've all walked through and we've looked at something going, okay, why is it that cheap? I know that it had to have taken a couple of hours to do this. So why is it only a few bucks? Somebody doesn't value their time or they forget to take into account the different costs of whether, the machine time or the replacement of bits and blades, what their sandpaper may have cost them, things of that nature. So please don't forget to incorporate all these things into your prices. Now, you can do the math and do the hard math and go, okay, well, just like this box or the glass and say, let me just, do this. That's great if you're buying material or you're buying something, doing a quick laser project on it, and then reselling it. But for the people out there that want to make it, like us, we start from scratch, rough lumber, and I make everything. We don't go to IKEA and buy a cutting board for $15, put some silly ass saying on it, and then sell it for $65. Our products are made, locally sourced hardwood, milled by me to specific dimensions, glued together, sanded, the whole 9 yards. So I like to say I expect a premium price. It may take 6 months to sell it, but there's always that one person. So take those things into account. Okay, let me recap. So we've talked about material, machine time, labor, supplies, any profit, your overhead. Don't forget wear and tear. If you do shipping, if you have shop fees, think about all those things when you're doing your pricing. You may ask, and the only thing I'm going to tell you is do what the market can hold for you and what you're willing to sell your product for. I give one last example is I made a box. I made a box the other day to hold trading card games. This box is, I think, 20.5 inches long, like 12 inches wide, and about 6 inches deep. These boxes take me 8 hours to make. That's physical contact hours. That's not, okay, I got to wait 4 hours for the glue to dry. Physical time touching the material is 8 hours. Who in the holy hell is going to pay $500 for a box? I'll find somebody. There's always at least one, because you're talking about a solid cherry box with walnut inserts that hold trading cards, whether it's a baseball card, a football card, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Digimon, the new Disney cards that are coming out. There's always somebody. So find the client that is willing to pay your costs. That way you can stay in business. As I look at everything, if I just use this box for an example and some of the other products that we do, there's no way that keeping this business open is feasible financially. We don't do it for the money. I charge, and I charge, higher end costs. But our end goal is to see the smiles on the clients' faces when their project has come to life, or when they get exactly what they want to solve their problem. That's really what the payment comes into for us. I know it sounds cheesy as shit, and I can't blame you for thinking that, but that is the God's honest truth. Most of our projects that we create are very specific to a client's needs or their wants. And that's what gives us the ability to keep going on. Financially, no, there's no way we could stay afloat. And then that sucks for small businesses because they're all out there. So in my opinion, if you're thinking about quitting your job to work from home, good luck and Godspeed, and don't get butthurt when it fails, or if it fails. But I truly hope it succeeds for you. If you have any comments, questions, throw them in the comment section. I'll do my best to answer them. Other than that, I hope you'll have a great day.